Welcome to Prince Institute. Legal matter through the Hindu News 7th May 2020. The heading is Rent Control Amidst Pandemic. Ready? Start. With the social and economic impacts of COVID-19 and the subsequent lockdown more discernible than before, there is a clarion call made to landlords by tenants to forgive rent for a month or two, especially for poor migrant families who do not have other housing options or savings. Government, civil society, academia, and migrants themselves are urging landlords to stop evictions at it will exacerbate the pandemic. It does not help matters that policymakers do not know who those landlords actually are, since the vast majority of rent arrangements in India are informal and unrecorded. As of now, governments are ordering or requesting landlords to excuse rent and stop evictions on the basis of the Disaster Management (DM) Act of 2005. This, however, is a very roundabout way, as this act does not have any provisions for demanding continuation of rental housing arrangements. The focus has to shift away from the DM Act to Rent Control Acts that actually aim to regulate rental housing. This is where some medium to long term thinking on rent control laws in states as well as central government's Model Tenancy Act 2019 could be useful. Regardless of how it sounds, landlords have a right to evict tenants as per any agreement they may have mutually. At the same time, tendencies are not unregulated by law. All tendencies should be administered by the state's rent control laws. Next heading, Interest of landlords and tenants. Typical rent control laws have historically favored tenants in extremist. In fact, the logic being driven by a popular conception of landlords as petty capitalists exploiting poor, vulnerable tenants. This is only partly true. Full stop. Research has shown that landlords, especially in the rental housing market in poor parts of our cities, are as poor and vulnerable as their tenants. Consumption data for poor households in urban areas indicate a ununiform lack of savings or access to social and economic safety nets for both landlords and tenants. In other words, landlords themselves by and large cannot afford a no rent month. So, we are faced with a terrible quandary. There is no legal obligation for landlords to excuse rent or not evict tenants in the current pandemic, and this is also a situation that they themselves cannot afford. This predicament is further compounded by the informality in the rental housing market. We do not even know how many people are giving out their houses on rent, for how much, how long, or under what terms and conditions. Consider two things. First, we have to make the Rent Act applicable across more and more tenancies. This means that all tenancies, including those informal in nature, must get registered under the Act. This is the only way we will know how actually the landlords and tenants are and where these houses are. Here we also see the proposed MTA playing a key role in emphasizing the registration of rent agreements through to be established rent authorities in every state. This is doable and all states should pursue it. Tamil Nadu has already launched such an authority that manages a portal for simplified registration. Second, the Rent Acts as well as the Model Tenancy Act need a force majeure clause for emergencies such as the pandemic. In times of dire stress, there is a strong case for passing an order to prevent evictions. When passed under a rent law for registered tenancies, it will carry a far stronger legal sanction than under a disaster law. We still need to consider that landlords may not be able to afford a rent-free month. They need the rent for their own survival. For this, a mobilization of housing welfare and disaster funds is required to make up for this loss of rent. Funds could also be crowd-sourced, acquired from corporate social interest and grants from international and national donor organizations. The advantage of having registered tenancies would then be evident because the government would be able to channel funds directly into the accounts of landlords and tenants. Stop.